Greetings and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in our webinar again. My name is Wenchao Xue, and I'm the Director of Asian Institute of Technology Belt and Road Research Center. The AIT Belt and Road Research Center was established in 2019 with the vision to serve as an international hub for collaborative and innovative research for robust economic growth and also the sustainable development in the Belt and Road region. Since its establishment, we have been participating and collaborating in Belt and Road projects, promoting the collaboration with China's and the other Belt and Road countries, universities, and organizations, and also supporting young scholars and students for their research and study in the Belt and Road region. Today, we are very happy to deliver our fourth Belt and Road webinar with the topic of high-speed railway, the flagship project to boost regional connection. So we are very honored to help with us our distinguished speakers to share with their insights and experience on the high-speed railway projects and their important roles to support the regional connection in driving the economic and social development in the Belt and Road. I would also like to extend my sincere appreciation to the China State Construction Engineering Thailand Company as our sponsor for today's event. Before we get started, just for a quick housekeeping. So if you have any questions during the talks, please type them into the chat box. Our colleagues will pick up some of them in the discussion after all the keynote speak today. Thank you very much. Now we are ready to start. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Eden Woon, the President of Asian Institute of Technology, to deliver his welcome remarks. Dr. Eden, please.
Distinguished guests, panelists, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is the fourth event of our Belt and Road webinar series that is organized by the AIT Belt and Road Research Center. The topic of today's webinar is high-speed railway, the flagship project to boost regional connection. As many of you know, the high-speed railway is one of the most important and leading large-scale infrastructure projects of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Starting from the very beginning with the Ankara-Istanbul HSR, high-speed railway project in Turkey back in 2014, until the most recently completed China-Laos high-speed railway project in 2021, the China's HSR have been extended to different countries in Asia, Africa, and Europe. As they have inside China, HSR projects foster rapid economic growth by accelerating the development of industry and trade sectors along the railway lines. Today, the Thailand-China high-speed railway projects are under construction, are expected to be completed and in use by 2025, which is going to connect China, Laos, and Thailand for more active regional, economic, and cultural exchange and development. For this webinar, we're delighted to have experts who are deeply engaged in high-speed railway projects, research, and management. They will share with us their knowledge, experiences, and opinions on the benefits and influences that high-speed railway projects can bring to the region. Our opening speaker is Mr. Liu Chongming. He's the Deputy General Manager of the China State Construction Engineering Thailand, which is presiding over the construction of part of the Thailand-China HSR project in Ayutthaya and Bangkok area. Dr. Hua Gong-yi, the CEO of China Era One Company of CP Group, is in charge of the management of many large-scale infrastructure projects inside and outside China, and is currently engaged in the high-speed rail linking three airports project in Thailand. And Dr. Surachan, one of our former faculty members of AIT, who is a key expert on transportation development and management of the Move Forward Party in Thailand. I believe that their presentations will help the audiences obtain comprehensive and detailed information and knowledge from different professional viewpoints regarding the HSR projects. As a unique regional multicultural institution of higher learning offering state-of-the-art education, research, and training in technology, management, and social development, AIT is positioned to play a leading role in the sustainable development of the region and its integration into the global economy. In fact, infrastructure is one of the 5 strategic focus areas of AIT. I am confident that AIT's partnership with the Belt and Road Initiative will be mutually beneficial in the pursuit of sustainable development in the region. Lastly, I would especially acknowledge the China State Construction Engineering Thailand for their generous sponsorship. And I also must appreciate our Chinese alumni of AIT for their great support to today's webinar. I wish you all a very successful webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eden, for your opening remarks. So now I would like to invite our opening speaker, Mr. Liu Chongming, to deliver his opening remarks. So Mr. Liu is the Deputy Managing Director of China State Construction Engineering Thailand Company. He is a registered senior civil engineer in China and has spent over 30 years of professional career in managing a number of large-scale civil engineering projects in Thailand, including the Mae Kwong Dam project in Chiang Mai province, and also the Bangkok City Hall projects. Mr. Liu is also one of our distinguished AIT alumni. So I'm very happy to have Mr. Liu to be here with us today to deliver his remarks. Mr. Liu, please.
Thank you, Dr. Eden. Thank you, Dr. Wen Chao. Ladies and gentlemen, thank the AIT Building the Road Research Center for having me here. As Dr. Wen Chao said, I'm an alumni of AIT, and it is an honor to give remarks in this special webinar. There is a well-known Chinese saying, to get rich, build the road first. In 2003, China launched the large-scale construction of high-speed railway starting from ground zero. Since then, China has built and operated more than 40,000 kilometers of high-speed railways, which is capable of orbiting the Earth once. So far, China's high-speed rail network is the largest, fastest, most modernized, and the best managed around the world. It can be said the high-speed railway not only brings dramatic convenience to the people's travel, but also becomes an engine of China's economy. In 2015, to further promote economic development in the region, the Thailand-China high-speed railway project was launched. It could be considered as the flagship project of the practical cooperation between the two countries and an important connectivity project under the framework of the Belt and the Road Initiative. The construction of the railway is conducive to Thailand's long-term development and meets the vital interest of the Thai people, both locally and regionally. Simultaneously, the Belt and Road Initiative is enabling ASEAN countries to connect each other by the rail. As one of the main contractors of the Thai-China high-speed railway project, our company, China State Construction Engineering Corporation, is the world's largest investment and construction group at the present. Our company ranked number 13 in Fortune Top 500 in 2021. Our business covers design engineering, construction for buildings, infrastructures, and industrial facilities, as well as real estate investment, and the PPP participations. We always play an important role in China's development, but also participate in the global development. Currently, we have more than 50 overseas subsidiaries in operation around the world. In Thailand, our business began in 1982. To date, we have delivered a number of landmark projects such as Chiang Mai, Mae Guangdan, Rama 8 Bridge, Bangkok City Hall, and the Suvarnabhumi Airport expansion, and so on. Today, we could say that our high-speed way project has opened a new chapter in China-Thailand cooperation. Our company has always attached a great importance to the development of technology and innovation. For this sake, we have built extensive cooperation with the scientific research institutions and universities around the world. AIT is our very important partner in Thailand. We have just reached an agreement with the AIT on collaboration in many different aspects, such as high-speed railway project-based research, professional trainings, and so on. We believe this collaboration will not only benefit both of us, but also contribute to the development of Thailand. Through this webinar, I believe our keynote speakers will provide you with more insights into the Belt and the Road high-speed railway projects and the positive impact and the benefits of these projects in Thailand and by extension into the region. I wish all you enjoy to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Okay, let's go back to today's main topic. So now I'm very honored to have our first keynote speaker today, Dr. Hua Dongyi. So Dr. Hua is currently the CEO of Asia Era One, the company under a PPP agreement with the Thai government to design, build, finance, operate, and maintain the high-speed rail linking 3 airports in Thailand. This is a quite famous project in Thailand. I believe many of our participants from Thailand have heard about it. So prior to this commission, Dr. Hua was also the CEO and the executive of a Hong Kong listed company, FSG Group. He also used to spend 20 years leading a few multi-billion-dollar infrastructure and resources projects for the China International Trust Investment Corporation, overseas business. So may I have the honor to invite Dr. Hua, please, for your speak today.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Dr. Eden. And I think as have today's chance ready to have such kind of chance to talk with everybody regarding the One Belt One Road and also the high-speed rail project in the Eastern region. I think is as you know, I think a high-speed rail already be developed in the past about I think 30-40 years. First, I think is everybody understand is high-speed rail, such kind of system and a project is have the very, you can say the contribution for the even in the Europe and also in the Japan and also in Asia, several countries already be developed such kind of systems. The what's kind of contribution and it already is displayed to the even the people and the public to fully understand. And even in the past about the 20 years, China is the one of the country is very quick to develop even until today, already more than 40,000 kilometers high-speed rail systems are to be built and under the operation now. And even there are some case is a little bit affected their state. But even until today now, the high-speed rail and the three, you can say levels of speed, about 250, 300, and 350 kilometers per hour, I think is already covered most of, you can say, the developing province and the link to the major cities, and have the, you can say, the billions people already, I think, is use such kind of, you can say, the transportation style and whatever to into their normal life. So I think is for the Asian region, we are thinking is even the Thailand is the hub of the, you can say, the logistic, and also for the industry, import, export, manufacturing, not only for the Asia region, they are also covered to the, you can say, the Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. So I think it's that's exactly the advantages, and also the, you can say, the Thailand government is really now designed is to start the China-Thai phase 1, the rail systems as a part of Asia Pacific rail network. And also, I think is we call it the L1 as a leading by CP Group, together with ITD, together with CRCC, and also I think with the several, you can say, the local partner, we are take them our state to ready to be ready based on the PPP, those kind of, you can say, the business model, and to try to ready to build the first, I think, is the EEC regions linked to the 3 airport. You can say the high speed rail. The design speed is, as this stage, is the 250 kilometers per hour. That's really is the, you can say, the piano project in the EEC region. So we also think there will be also to build the our, you can say, the model and the standard to reading for the, you can say, Thailand, even the Asian regions, high speed rail, the specification, and also to let the public and the government to fully to understand and also to share such kind of, you can say, the benefit for the high speed rail to contribute for the economic development. So that's exactly, I'm thinking there's Thailand now is ready to take the leading step in the Asian, you can say, the Asian region, because the Asian region totally have more than 300 million population, and also even including the Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, you can say also Myanmar, Bangladesh. I think all those regions, Malaysia, Indonesia, or this region, I think is a high-speed rail have the very bright future. Is more economic, you can say the transportation, you can say the infrastructure, and also ready to can help this region to develop their economic, you can say, the development, and also use the more efficiency, you can say, the way. And even now in China, about 20 years ago, when they are designed to start to build the high-speed rail systems, mainly to focus about the, you can say, the passengers, not thinking about the, even use the high-speed rail to be as a logistic, you can say, those kind of logistic arrangement. But now, I think is the express deliverable, I think is the logistic systems is becoming to be a more and more important for the high-speed rail systems. Even they are becoming to be a major contribution profit So I think is in the near future, even for the ASEAN region, I think is the high-speed rail not only just to provide a service, even for the passenger and the people traveling. And another most important contribution is way based on the, you can say the logistic. Maybe use the more, you can say the quick, efficiency, economic way. So I think is high-speed rail systems so important for the region, for the country, typically for the talent. So I think is we are fully believe and trust the high-speed rail where have the, you can say the bright future in the talent, also for the, you can say the regions. And I think is also, I think is now for the AIT, I think is just a few weeks ago, I think we also have very good, you can say the discussion, and also I think is a very good, you can say the cooperation and the negotiation will be how can to really give and provide those kind of platform to training more and more the professional, even the student and the graduate student, and most for the high-speed rail industry, because Thailand and also I think is the ASEAN region really required the huge numbers of those kind of expertise, or those kind of, you can say well-trained, you can say the technicians, engineers, because high-speed rail is the you can say the new issue for the region, and also whatever from the government management side, and also for the, you can say the company side, and also in the future for the operation and maintenance side, they are required huge numbers of those kind of professional, well-catered, you can say the people and personnel. So I think is AIT will be played a very important role. And we are also quite happy to provide those kind of platform, and let even the, you can say the personnel have the practice platform and got the well experience, including the construction, operation, and maintenance. So thank you very much. And I think is appreciate again, and also welcome, and all the, you can say the interest party, we can have a very good, you can say the opportunity, whatever in the construction period, and also in the futures for the operation and maintenance. And we hope, I think is ASEAN region, those kind of country and the people will be ready to start to share those kind of, you can say, high-speed rail systems to provide a service to the government and to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hua, for providing an introduction about the China's high-speed railway project and also its development connection in Thailand. I think later on we will have time for more specific questions if our participant has a special interest in some insight about the project themselves. So then you can raise your questions to Dr. Hua. I believe he will provide you many detailed answers. Okay, so please leave us the question in the chat box. So the next, I'm pleased to have our second keynote speaker, Dr. Surachet Pravin-Woot. Sorry if I promise not correctly. So it's always a challenge for me to read the Thai name. So Dr. Surachet is a member of Parliament at the National Assembly of Thailand. He is the Deputy Secretary General of the Move Forward Party, and also the key person in charge of transportation and budgeting and all related matters. Dr. Surachet is the chairperson of the Mega Project Budgeting Subcommittee under the budgeting standing committee of the House of Representatives. Also, he has been serving as the vice chairperson of the Transportation Standing Committee and several ad hoc committees related to infrastructure investment in Thailand, including the high-speed railways, subway, motorways, expressway, port, airport, dams, and also Thai canals. So prior to join the parliament, Dr. Surachet also served as our full-time faculty member in transportation engineering at AIT, and also received the AIT Distinguished Teacher Award in 2015. So today we are very happy to have Dr. Surachet back home, although it's not the physical meaning of back home, but it's very happy to see you back home with us and provide us some more information and your perspective regarding the high-speed railway projects. Dr. Surachet, please.
Okay, thank you, Wenchel. Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good. So thank you very much for inviting me come back home as a speaker today, and it's my honor to have today's chance. So let me start my talk with a question that shall we be so excited with the high-speed rail? This is the question for thought, okay? And then I will share my experience, and I have a transportation engineering background. Of course, I know not only high-speed rail, I know the typical rail, I know the motorways, I know the airports, and this day I control the budget on the transportation and infrastructure investment. So rail is good. I think most of all already knows and no doubt about it. I think the main transportation, you know, when you use the car, you go against the friction. So rail is rolling, is better, of course. But the base is actually the ship, you know, is floating. So it uses much less energy. So the good thing is still go to the ship as the major transportation mode for the long distance, and for the land transportation, because you don't have the water everywhere. So we use rail as a good transportation mode. But the big assumption that most people don't tell you is that only if enough usage. It doesn't mean that high-speed rail is the generic tools is always good. No, it's not. So rail is good, but only if enough usage. So when we make a decision, I think we should keep in mind that what is the best for whom. And I know these two questions very well, as I become the politicians, have to deal with so many issues, not only transportation as in the past. So what is the best? What is the most appropriate option? What is the best alternative to invest, you know, and for whom or to whom is very different. The big problem that I want to share with you today as a keynote speaker is, I call it the problem of several hats. So people wear different hats. Even with me, my hats now, I am a member of parliament. So I fight for Thai people, and I'm responsible for transportation and budgeting. I used to be the AIT faculty and also AIT student during my master period. So I'm ex-AIT. So definitely I wish something good for AIT for sure. I have background in civil engineering at my bachelor level, and my master and PhD is in transportation engineering, transportation system engineering. And right now in my party, I'm the Secretary General and responsible for all the topics related to the transportation and budgeting. So I have several hats, and you know, each hat may give different answer. Because when you make the big decision, there's always some people gain something and some people also lose something. It's not win-win all the time. I tell you the truth that it's not win-win all the time. But sometimes we can make the win-win situation. But also even in the win-win situation, some people will gain more, some people will gain less. But in reality, I would say that most of the time, some people have to lose something in the big decision. So today, my major hat that I would wear is for Thai people. Actually, I have a half Chinese blood and half Thai blood, but I'm a Thai person, and now I'm the member of parliament representing Thai people. So today, I will share you my thought as for Thai people. What is the best for Thai people? So let me step back to this, what is called BRI, or Belt and Road Initiative. It started as the President Lee Jae-woon mentioned in 2013 by Xi Jinping, and this is the greatest effort in the recent years. You know, in the past 10 years, this is the greatest, one of the greatest effort worldwide, is to connect more than 70 countries, and this is formerly known as a One Belt, One Road. But there's something to mention also, because some people misunderstanding. Belt actually mean rail, and road is actually mean ship in this saying, One Belt, One Road, because belt is from the Silk Road economic belt, and for the road is the 21st century maritime Silk Road. So when you're talking about these big things, you know, and now I'm in the political field, I know it's always have supporter and opponents. So if you Google in the wikis, in the many news, you can see that there's two big groups. One, for the supporter, is saying that this is potential boosts the global GDP, particularly in the developing countries. But on the other side, for the opponents of this BRI, is called, this is the debt trap diplomacy, resulting in neo-colonialism and economic imperialism. However, after, you know, you plus, minus, divide, multiply, the fact is that Thailand joined the BRI, but not taking the Chinese road. After negotiating several meetings, several years. So at the end, Thailand joined the BRI, but not taking the Chinese road. The cooperation between Thailand and China on the what is called Bangkok to Nong Khai is on the northeastern part of Thailand. The development for the regional connectivity. It starts from December 19, 2014, and that is when Thailand and China signed MOU on Thailand's railway infrastructure development on the strategic framework for development of Thailand transportation infrastructure in 2015 to 2022. And about 3 years later, Thai government cabinet approved the project officially on the 2017. And to the kickoff at the end of that year, around December 21st on 2017 is the kickoff time. However, there's big debate in Thailand during those years. And the kickoff is start, this is the fact, okay? The kickoff is start with 3.5 kilometer section from the Bangkok to Korat as a phase one is around 250 kilometers. But the start, the procurement, start the construction only 3.5 kilometers on December 21st, 2017. And right now, for the phase one, it's go very slow and very far from the original plan. On the phase two, which is the extension from the Korat, or official name is called Nakhon Ratchasima, go to Nong Khai. This is doesn't even start yet for the construction. It's just for the detailed design, okay? And no solid plan to start soon as of today. So I would say that the fact Thailand joined, but Thai people as the taxpayer who pay for this project may or may not enjoy. Why? I will tell you in this presentation. And think about it carefully, logically. Don't wear the hat that you're gonna benefit from this project. Don't wear the hat that you're the Chinese. Don't wear the hat at anything, okay? Just take the neutral mind and listen to my presentation. I will give you some technical detail. So for this project, it has been saying a lot about no transparency on the claim economic worth to Thailand for the Bangkok to Nong Khai. The model, the travel demand forecasting model, the assumption, what is the growth, how many people you use, and also necessary information to come up with those assumptions and to construct the model. Actually, it should be disclosed to the public, but in this case, none. The resulted report are very doubtful and unreasonably too high. There are obviously better alternatives, but not analyzed in this feasibility study report have done on the 2019. And the result indicate on this report that being used for approve the project give EIRR, economic internal rate of return. In other words, it's just the economic profit from this investment, 12.1%. Come on. Do you think that this makes sense? 12.1%. I give you some examples that have been missing in this report. It's called no scenario analysis of competitive project. Because to connect between Bangkok to Nong Khai, actually there are roads already. And there are rails already, but the rail is meter gauge, which is 1 meter. The high-speed rail is called the standard gauge, which is 1.435 meter. So in Thailand, we use 1 meter gauge as a standard gauge in Thailand, used in general in Thailand. However, there are many plans from different organizations that has been planned and about to build at the same time along the same corridor, which is the project A is called double track meter gauge. It means that right now we have a single track meter gauge, and then they will use a double track so that the train can go on the opposite side. Okay, it's increased capacity a lot from 1 to 2 tracks. Is give the capacity increase about 10 times, not 2, because the train doesn't have to stop. Okay. However, this effort of BRI try to push for another double track, which is standard gauge 1.435. So in other words, in Thailand, we have 1 track. We want to build 1 to 4, not 1 to 2. Okay. So in theory, you should expand 1 to 2 and then use it for a while until it's quite congested or a lot of people using it. So you double, that makes sense. But now we want to build 1 to 4. Not only that, the road, because in Thailand we use road a lot, that is not a good thing. But people use the road a lot. This is existing condition. They also plan to build motorway. That means they want to double capacity on the roadside. So very few people will divert to use rail. That's what will happen. So I give you some fact that this is the contract that being signed, but not all, from phase 1, which is Bangkok to Korat as of today. So the north direction goes this way. Okay, so this is start from Bang Sue, go to Don Mueang. This is Ayutthaya, and go to Saraburi, Pak Chong, and this is Korat or Nakhon Ratchasima. So, each line, each color line show different contract. Okay, so right now, for this project, only phase 1 from Bangkok to Korat, we have around 14 contracts for the civil work and 1 contract for the Chinese contractor on the electrical and maintenance, with the total distance of 250.77 kilometers. And the maximum operation speed for this Bangkok to Korat is 250 kilometers per hour. And I want to highlight that this is for passenger only, not for freight transportation. This is for passenger only, not for freight transportation. And the design is very different. If you want to carry the freight also and carry passenger only, it's very different. But this line is designed for passenger only with the speed of 250 kilometers. And the travel time from Bangkok to Nakhon Ratchasima is around 1.5 hours and use a lot of budget. This is very huge number in Thailand. The exchange rate is around 33 baht per $1. This is about 180,000 million baht. It's a very big number, huge number. And the construction as of today is expected to finish by April 2026. This is the soonest. It can be even more delayed because some contract wasn't signed yet. The MOU start 2014, remember? And the kickoff, the start construction start at the 2017. It's very, very slow. So this is the picture from the active site this day, okay? 4 out of 14 civil work contract do not even start the construction yet. And the expected train set that we're gonna use on this project is Fuxinghao CR300 AF, which is operate at the highest speed as 250 kilometers per hour, 6 train set and 8 car per train. The train set is 200 meters long, and this is the electrified train, not push and pull type. The seat is around 600 seats per train, separate to be about 100 first class and the rest for the standard. And the cost is around 1 billion baht, 1 billion baht per train, and use double track standard gauge, which is I want to emphasize this standard gauge is mean 1.435 meter, and multiply 2 is mean that it's double, and use the standard of UIC 60. For the electricity is use a single phase AC, which overhead catenary system. The axle load is less than 17 tons. This clearly indicate that this is for passenger only, not for freight. You know, it can use for some freight like a light mail, you know, that want to go fast, but not the container things that we speak in general for freight. It's just some special type that have to be very expensive and fast to use the high speed train for the freight. The forecast passenger in each day is around only 5,000 in 2021, and will grow up until around 26,000 in the next 30 years. Okay. And on the phase 2, it will use the same type of Bangkok Korat, which I want to emphasize that is very different from the Laos side. Very different from the Laos side. On the second phase, it starts at the Korat station, which official name is Nakhon Ratchasima, and it ends at the boundary, which is Mekong River on the Thai side. The distance is around 357, and then use double track standard gauge. Have 5 stations, 2 depots for maintenance base, and also have a container and transshipment yard. And the budget, of course, is longer, so it's even more. It's another 200,000 million baht. And the status is under the design process, ask for the EIA approval. The connectivity with the route is still unclear. As I said, it's different type of track and different types of the train. The track have the same size, 1.435, but you know, the load, the things is not allowed for the true operation. So when we're talking about the connectivity, we're talking about peoples and goods. You know, we have an immigration process, we have customs, we have a transfer for people and transshipment for goods, different train type, different track type. Those are unclear, and this is very important, the connectivity with the Laos side. So let me a little bit step back to the overview with the BRI. The BRI actually, there's this polar Silk Road, which is called the ship. Okay, and this is the 21st century maritime Silk Road. Okay, and then the pink line is several corridor that want to develop the economic cooperation with the China. So the focus on this presentation is called the China-Indochina Peninsula Economic Corridor, which is this one. So let me zoom in. So this is the mainland China, which look like chicken, right? And then this is the Indochina on the southern part. So if you look at this Indochina, there are interesting history on the colonial railway since 19,000. If you look at the history since the British and French Empire, for example, in Thailand, it used to use the standard gauge, which is 1.45 in the very long time ago. And later on, it convert everything. So now the main connector in Thailand and all around in the Indochina, except China, is the meter gauge, which is 1 meter, 1.000. Okay, so this is Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore, and including Cambodia and Vietnam and Myanmar. All in this area use meter gauge. However, China use the standard gauge, which is 1.435. So right now, China expand the standard gauge to Laos already, and this project is done. So in Laos, right now, it have a train that connect to China. But I want to emphasize that this is not high speed, and it's the single track, not double track. So in the Laos part, it use the single track standard gauge, 160 kilometers per hour. So by definition, it's not high speed. So the international standard of what is called high speed should be 250 kilometers per hour and above. So in Laos, it's not high speed, and can go up to 160 kilometers per hour. So never speak that high speed rail from China to Thailand. That is not real, because in Laos, it's already done and it's not high speed rail. However, the standard gauge is being pushed from China down south, and then they try to attempt to connect to the Singapore along this China-Indochina Peninsula. So the situation is that in the past, all countries in Indochina, except China, China is not in the Indochina, use meter gauge, including Laos, Thai, Cambodia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Malaysia, and Singapore. All use meter gauge, and it have the network built already. However, the push of the standard gauge 1.435 is from the north. China now go to Laos and now want to connect to Thailand and plan to the Malaysia and also Singapore. You have to also understand the existing condition in this region, that the roadway is using a lot. Good or bad, that is another story. But the fact is that for transporting goods as a freight transportation, they use roadway as a majority. And for the people movement, it definitely depends on how long does it take. If it's quite short trip, actually it's the major of the trip is use the roadway. But for the long distance, for people, they use airline. The international standard, I would say around 800 kilometers and more, airplane will get advantage, very clear, if it's longer than 800 kilometers. But if it's shorter than 300 kilometers, roadway gain benefit, very clear. So the rail or the high-speed rail is somewhere between at those range that is quite competitive. But if it's longer than 800 kilometers, most people will use allies. And allies is much cheaper because to invest building the airport and the private sector invest on the airline. is much cheaper for the government. So the railway usage is very low on this region, Indochina region, and especially in Thailand, the railway usage is really low. There are many reasons to explain that, but I don't want to go too far. But the fact is that railway usage is really low. And I want to point out another thing, that the term standard here doesn't mean better. Some people don't understand and saying that standard is better. The term standard is just come from the EU side, because in the past European country also use different rail side, but they have an agreement that they will use the standard as a 1.435 in the EU, and later on China also use this side, but this is come from the EU and it's called the standard because many countries on the EU use this side. But again, in this Indochina use 1 meter gauge as the main tracks. So what's happened in Thailand regarding the Belt and Road? I would say that most people support connectivity enhancement with Laos and China. And also most people support rail development because we know that we rely on the road too much. We have to shift the mode. We want to do the mode shift from road to rail. However, the government plan, I mean the Thai government plan doesn't make sense yet. There are many problems, which is I will elaborate more why it doesn't make sense and why it makes this project a mess. We have plans, not the master plan. Each organization just plan their own ways. And with the current action, I can easily scientifically prove that there are many things wrong with the current government plan. And the government is also drafting the new master plan. It's called MR map, motorway rail map, of which there are still many issues doubtful. So my job, especially as the chairperson of the mega projects budgeting subcommittee and then under the budgeting standing committee of the House Representative, my job is to check how Thai tax has been spent and will be spent. So I talk with many organizations and I ask for the plan, okay, and you're gonna see something like this. So we have the plan developed by the Department of Highway. It's called the Motorway Master Plan, which is developed since 2016 for a very huge network, impossible huge network, 6,600 kilometers in the next 20 years. The cost is around 2 trillion baht, which is very huge number. And the rail is planned by another organization. It's called the State Railway Authority of Thailand. Also have the line, look at it in this picture. However, with the trend of the high-speed rail come, it's create a big redundant with the single track meter gauge plan in Thailand. For the single track meter gauge plan in Thailand, we want to change from the single to double and want to extend the network to improve coverage. However, the high-speed rail go overlap. You can see this is the north section overlap with this section. And this northeast section, the section that we're talking about, is overlap with this one. And going to south also. And for the meter gauge, also plan to make the electrified train. It means that we can upgrade the current meter gauge system from around 80 kilometers per hour to 160 kilometers per hour. This is the plan that we have. We want to upgrade this to be 160. But the high-speed rail is just a little bit faster, go to 250 kilometers per hour. And if you want to make this the meter gauge as fast as the high speed, you can do the skip stop very easy because the train doesn't travel 250 all the time. It have to slow when get to the station and accelerate when go out station. So we can make a really pretty much the same travel time from Bangkok to Nong Khai with the double track with the electrified train go to 160 kilometers, which costs much less, which I will show you later. So basically, the idea is that the government have plans, not the master plan, and it's such a mess. It's overlapping a lot of redundant. So let's zoom in on the rail network. The left picture is the current network of the meter gauge in Thailand. The length is around 4,000 kilometers. However, most are the single track. So as I mentioned, from the single to double, it makes sense because the train can go opposite direction. It will increase the capacity around 10 times from 1 to 2. So it has a plan. The priority is to make it double track because, as I said, the objective want to make the mode shift. So a lot of people agree with this project that want to double from the single track go to double track. And also we want to get more demand to use and have the development go all over the country. So have a plan for expanding the network to improve the coverage. You can compare the left picture and the right picture that we want to expand from 4,000 kilometers to be around 6,500 kilometers. And this is the main network. And this is the meter gauge. So improving its coverage is better than creating redundancy. I think I don't have to go to very technical detail, but you can use common sense to understand. Because the track capacity improve 10 times when you go from 1 to 2, but from 1 to 4, it will be 20 times. 1 to 2 is 10 times, and you add another 2, it just multiplied by 2 to be 20, and that is the fact. However, with the push from the north, we have the high-speed railway network plan. However, it also have a lot of issue because this line go to Chiang Mai is planned for the Japanese Shinkansen, and this plan for the Chinese system is such a mess. But the point is that this is the redundant network. There's no reason to go from 1 to 4, 1 to 2 first. And when there's enough demand, some rich people want to save time and pay more expensive to use high-speed rail. That make more sense. But in Thailand, it's not planned to do like that. And also the standard gauge is used for the mass transit. That is another story. That is the short distance, more frequent trip in the city. For example, in the Bangkok, we have around 10 mass transit line and use the standard. And each line just going back and forth without the network. So one of the main reasons that I'm saying that the government plan doesn't make sense because when we talk in technique, we should have what is called travel demand modeling, that have a 4-step modeling process, start from trip generation and analyze what is the trip distribution, go from where to where, and go by which mode is called mode choice, and go by which route is called route choice, and analyze. And you can see that in Thailand this day is pretty much Bangkok is Thailand and Thailand is Bangkok. There's no big city. The Korat, the Nong Khai is very small city. This is the intercity traffic in Thailand. You can see that everything go to Bangkok. So in this case, when we want to add, we have a road already, as I mentioned, we have rail, but the rail that we have is the meter gauge and it's single track. But now we want to add project A, which is double track of meter gauge. We want to add B, which is high speed, the standard track, another double gauge. And we want to add motorway also. So if we want to add these 3 things, at least we should analyze, should we do A only, B only, C only, or A and B, A and C, or B and C, or do A, B, C, or do nothing, Those are 8 obvious alternatives that should be analyzed. But because the push, because the force, now we want to do A, B, C, all together, which doesn't make sense. And the model that being used for analyze is obviously wrong. This is I validated since the time that I was a faculty in AIT. I used to take the travel demand model, analyze, and the x-axis is the observed traffic, and the y-axis is the model traffic. So if everything is done correctly, all the dots have to align on this 45-degree line, but you can see how scattered it is. So it doesn't make sense for the model that being used to quantify the benefit for this project. And because we don't have that good feasibility study, we overestimate result. I just show you with the real world example that I explore. So as the chairman, I want to verify whether the forecast is correct or not. So I asked for this, the purple line, because it's just newly open in the past 5 years. So I start seeing something. The new project built, I cannot see the real world passenger, but for this one, I can see the real world passenger. And I dig back to what is used to forecast long time ago before this project built. You can see that the orange line, this is what is forecast, that when the purple line is being finished, is around 200,000 people will use and gradually increase. However, in reality, 10 times less than what is forecast. So these days, even before the COVID, 2019 is not impacted by COVID yet. It's only around 50,000, much lower than the forecast. So in 2019, it's 77% lower than the forecast. And the revenue doesn't even cover the operating costs. And these days, government have to subsidize around 147 baht per trip just to cover operating costs. And I want to emphasize on this, that this is subsidized for a quite rich person, because the people who use purple line above average, the income, the salary is above average. But the poor guys use the bus, but no money subsidized for the bus, but use a lot of money subsidized for the rich people. That what I said, it doesn't make sense. So what happened is over forecast the demand. That is the tragedy on building this mega project called MRTA Purple Line. So get back to the connectivity with Laos and China. I want to emphasize that connectivity is important. The big question is how. Again, connectivity is important, but how? So let's consider the case of Bangkok to Korat, that is start building this day. And before we go to the detail, I want to remind you that don't be a kid who just want a new toy. It doesn't mean that the more the better. You have to consider the cost side also. Don't always just use the benefit from the project and then talk only the good things. That come with the cost also. And also they come with the opportunity cost. If you save this money, you can do a lot more better things. Okay, so don't be a kid who just want a new toy. So let's look at the Bangkok to Korat or Bangkok to Nakhon Ratchasima. The double track project that I mentioned, that we use meter gauge, and we want to change from single track that we already have to be double track. That costs only 25,000. Because we already have, we just build another track. But to build another double track of the standard gauge, which is called the high-speed rail project, it costs a lot more. It's around 179,000 million baht. Not only that, the government also want to spoil people who use car by building the motorway. Another 85,000 baht. And these are the money that government, the Thai government, have to spend. Okay, and actually now, Nakhon Ratchasima is very small. The Korat is very small compared to Bangkok. And if you remember this kind of gravity model, if you want to have a lot of trip between two cities, you should invest on the city so that it's big. If big city and close together, there's going to be more trip. But with the very large Bangkok and very small Nakhon Ratchasima, there's not much trip, and doesn't make sense to expand the capacity for the rail 20 times and the road 2 times. And by increase the road 2 times, even less to use the rail. Because in the existing condition, we have rail, which is, as I mentioned, single track meter gauge. And for the road side, we have one of the largest road. It's called Meter Park Road, which is route number 2, which is one of the largest road in Thailand, connect to Bangkok and Nakhon Ratchasima. And if you go to a developed country like Japan, you will not see such a huge road like this. But in Thailand, this road is very huge. But as I mentioned, a lot of traffic using the roadway. So they plan to do the motorway, which is double the capacity. But the plan on the rail is even more illogical. We want to build the rail from 1 to 4, which is expand from the single track meter gauge to be the double track meter gauge. And we want to add another high-speed rail, which is another 2 tracks, making the rail from 1 to 4. That is expand capacity 20 times. So this will create the problem that only few people will use high-speed rail. I just give you some analysis in the picture. So right now, this is kind of a tank, which is route 2. It means that the road, we have this tank. And then now it's almost reached the capacity because people use roadway a lot in Thailand. The single track in Thailand is still have some room, but we want to make a mode shift. We want to improve. So if you want to improve from the single track to be double track of meter gauge, it will expand the capacity around 10 times. And if we're doing so, some people that used to use the road will shift mode to use double track. It will rebalance. It's called create the mode shift. But if we do the motorway also, this is road 2, motorway, and double track. When the road have double capacity, it will reallocate, and then not many people will use double track. But what will happen in Thailand is we want to add high-speed rail. So you can imagine how many people will use it. Not only that, we want to extend from Korat to Nong Khai and also to connect to China. That requires a lot more money. The double track project from Bangkok to Korat is this number. So from Korat to Nong Khai, it make the total cost to be like this. And this is the high-speed cost to connect, and this is the motorway. So the total, we have to spend a lot of money to make these big 3 things all together. Not count that we also have an airplane, we have an airport along the way. So it's a big question, why does government subsidize all the project to compete with the others? I give you some sense of number. The investment budget of Thailand, the whole Thailand, for every province, for every issue, including the healthcare, education, R&D, everything is around 500,000 million baht per year. That is for everything. But this project to connect Bangkok to Nong Khai, it costs this much. So I would say that R&D, education, healthcare, welfare of the people, or urban development are not important. I think it's even more important than redundant project, than spare capacity that will not be used for the next 10 or 20 years. And what I mentioned to you, I'm not speak just from my mind. All these things, if you check from the research in the transportation engineering research, there's what is called 4-step modeling process that is about decision to travel, choice of destination, choice of travel mode, and choice of the route. And also, this is very important. The third step is called the mode choice theory. However, I don't want to go to very technical. I also forget about these kind of vegetable things already. I just explain to you in a very plain language. Give you some very simple example. The transportation trip is just to travel people or travel goods from origin to destination. Let's say that you have road and you have rail. Basically, you have two alternatives to connect from origin to destination, and you have 100 trips per day. So if this utility function is called this utility, not utility, because the time that you have to spend, the cost, the toll fare, those are the bad things. So they use the term this utility, not utility. The disutility of road and rail assume that it's equal. So it means that it will make 50 to 50 split, right? I mean, this is common sense, can easily understand. If you have 100 tips and you have two choice, and the two choice is quite equal utility, it's going to be 50 to 50 split. However, if the road is better, because it's connect door to door, is convenient, most people already have a car, and so on. It could be 70 to 30 split. If the road is better, more people will use road and less people will use rail. This is just assumed number to give you a sense. It could be 80-20, it could be 65-35, but let's use 70-30 split. However, if the motorway is built, so it means that it double capacity of the road, double capacity of the road, is make the roadway better. So the split instead of 70 to 30 could be 90 to 10. So now think of the real world situation that I explained to you in Bangkok to Kolat. What will you do? If your objective is to pick what is the best alternative for Thai people, not for the Chinese people that not pay for this project. What is the best alternative for Thai people? Will you add double track and also high speed and also motorway? You're gonna make this connectivity between Bangkok and Kolat very huge, and only few people will use. Isn't it smarter if you spend money to build Nakhon Ratchasima, to build the city along the station, to expand the public transport network, to make people's life better? So when I'm talking about this kind of thing, some people don't understand. I don't know why. I think I try to explain in a very easy way already. I try to escape from the mathematics, from the logic model, from the discrete choice analysis. I just try to explain in a plain language, but still some people don't understand. Some people try to say that this is not the redundant, but supportive. I show them by very simple network. If you build this double track project, this high speed and this motorway, these are redundant. It serves the same trip from origin to the destination. If you want to make a supportive, you're gonna do, for example, if this is double track train and you want to build the road so that it's feed the traffic, it feed the freight to the station, and then do the transshipment yard, do the mode shift easily. That is called supportive. This picture is redundant. This picture is supportive. Another argument that I always heard is this two words. Maybe in English it's not so clear, but in Thai it's very clear. Competition and option. Thai people want to use option. It's cover soft word. It's cover good words that, oh, it's option for the people. But actually alternative are competitive itself. But people try to escape the word competition and try to use option instead. So I would say that if you want to invest a lot of projects on the same corridor, it's going to be much smarter if you build one thing on corridor and another thing on another corridor. It will smarter this way. So my standpoint, I support Thailand and China connectivity. Very clear. This is important. This is trade. This is economics development, both Thailand and China. This is good. Improve the connectivity between Thailand and China. And also, I have no problem with the double track railway development project, which is the meter gauge 1.00 project. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with high speed also. I know sometimes it's good, sometimes you use this, sometimes you use this, sometimes you use this. I'm a transportation engineer. I know the benefit of this project very well, but I know the cost also. And also, I have no problem with the motorway itself also. Motorway also have some usefulness in some case also. We have to pick. But I oppose, again, I oppose doing the three things all together, almost the same time, along the same corridor, because I'm a taxpayer, don't waste my money. And this, what will happen in Thailand from Bangkok to Korat, and also will be extended from Korat to Nong Khai. So as a taxpayer, I oppose doing the three things all together, almost the same time. So this is something like in the reality, in your life, in my life, in many people's life, we must choose. So what will happen in Thailand, I would say, is this opportunity or threat? In the past, we have this only two. But right now, with the clear policy that rail is good, and I agree that rail is good, but I put another important phase, if enough user. But what will happen in Thailand? This is not so far from AIT, is in Don Mueang Station, you know, the nearest airport to AIT. It will change from only this to be these so many trains, because each project not share the track. Even the new plan project that to use the standard gauge, as I mentioned, the standard in Thailand all over the place use meter gauge. But even the new track that planned for 1.435, the standard gauge, Chinese will have two tracks. The Japanese Shinkansen go to north, it's the same side, but they cannot share the track. It's different signal system. And also, welcome for the CEO of the Asia 11 that you're gonna do the section from Bang Sue to Don Mueang. It's separate to be another two tracks also. So you can see that from this picture, how much money we have to waste by not share the tracks. That will happen. So let me make it very clear. In transportation, we have transport of goods or passenger. For the goods, it's already clear. Thailand, Laos, and China already talk. What is agreed is to use the meter gauge double track in Thailand with many strong reasons to support. So to transport goods, not use the high speed. It's gonna use the State Railway Authority of Thailand. Okay, so you can see that by comparison, this is the high-speed railway project. This is the collaboration between Laos and China in the Laos side, and this is the double track project that I mentioned. So the speed, this is designed for 250. This is 160. Again, in Laos, it's not high speed. And then this is the double track, is also 160. And the gauge side, this is going to use double track of the standard gauge for passenger only, not for the freight. And investment is 100% by Thai people, by Thai taxpayer. On the Laos side, it's going to use single track standard gauge to transport both goods and passenger. and China invests 70% and Laos invests 30%. And for the double track in Thailand, it's used meter gauge. And meter gauge, you know, you can carry goods and passenger also. You just buy a new bogies, a new train, a new set of the train is much cheaper. It can transport both goods and passenger, and it's all invest in Thailand. So for the good, this is a must because it's already agreed, and with many support reasons, this is the main network in Thailand. Also connectivity to other place also. So this have to be done whatsoever. This will have to be done, and this already built. But now we're talking about this guy. So this guy, if it can serve the high-speed rail, if it can serve, as I mentioned, is for passenger only. The immigration and the custom are still required. So it means that you cannot get the through traffic from Bangkok to China. You must get off the train anyway to pass the immigration, to show your passport, to declare the custom, what are the luggage that you bring in. For the Thailand and Laos railway, this was not designed for the true operation also. If you want to design for the true operation between Thai and Laos with non-stop, that means you have to design for the signal, for the track load, for the slope and the curvature. But with the current design, it's not for the true operation. Another key important reason is that when you're talking about connectivity between Thailand and China, the closest is to Kunming. Bangkok to Kunming, you look at the distance, is 1,260 kilometers, which is more than the key number that I mentioned to you, 800. It means that most people will fly no matter what. Most people will fly. Some will use high-speed rail, but most people will fly. And the rest can be easily accommodated by the meter gauge that must build anyway, and is also served for the goods, for the freight transportation. And this, the double track in Thailand is even more capacity than what has been built in Laos. Because in Laos, it's built the standard gauge, but just one track. In Thailand, we have 2 tracks with meter gauge. It's already served more capacity. No need for double, no need from 1 to 4. There's no reason to build from 1 to 4. So later, once there's enough demand, high-speed rail could be reconsidered. As I mentioned, use double track first. It can transport both goods and passenger, and no need to stop. It can go to 160. And because this day, a lot of people use roadway. So once the rail project open for a while and keep improving, once the demand is almost reach the capacity, you just building another 2, it make much more sense. However, the Thailand situation, as I mentioned, the plan doesn't make sense. It also have the plan to build the motorway. And if the motorway built, forget about the high-speed railway. Only few people will use, not even cover the operating cost. So my wish, I want to see Thailand, not only Bangkok. If I can save some money that build too much capacity, redundant project that connect between city, I want to build those money to build the city itself. It make more sense. And when I build a city, it's good for everybody, every day. Because when I build a city, I have the urban planning, I have the street network, I have the mass transportation. That is for everybody, every day. But for the high-speed rail, it's for the rich, using once in a while. So in conclusion, don't be too excited with the term high speed, which defined as 250 kilometers per hour. And there's none in Laos. In Laos, it's 160 kilometers per hour, and it's only single track also. Think logically. Having connectivity between Thailand and China is good, but how? It is still doubtful. Now with the current plan is over-invested, redundant and costly, and also too slow. Even it doesn't make sense to build. When it's built, it's too slow. The transfer and transshipment are unclear. The infrastructure plan in Thailand doesn't make sense, over-invest in some place, but lack of in many other places. So the feasibility study is very important and should be done professionally. So get back to my opening question. Shall we be so excited with high-speed rail? For Thai people, if you're wearing the hat of the Thai people, I would say it's not worth the tax money. For the Chinese, you don't have to pay, but you gain something. And perhaps you can sell the train set. For AIT, it might be good. This is a mega project. You can gain opportunities. But when we make the decision, where's your hat? Sometimes the decision could be conflict. So you have to think for the overall. And for me, I think for Thai people is the most important, and Thai pay for this project. So this is some picture to thought that, you know, I'm a dad. My kids, when he's quite young, I'm quite a kind dad. When he asks for something and it's quite cheap, I give him. But if he grow up and instead of asking for this pillow, he asked for this kind of big train, I would say it's too expensive. I cannot spend, and if I have enough money to spend, I should be able to spend with some other things that make more sense than redundant. Not many people using it. So sometimes I think Thai people should dare enough to say no sometimes. So these two questions that I said in decision making have to keep in mind. What is the best for whom? In reality, you have to ask a lot of questions. Whose money? We have limited resource. Are there conflict of interest in several hats? Opportunity cost if we save money and do other things. Is there create redundancy, that extra capacity? Is the project is risky, too risky that nobody gonna use? And when we invest, we have a gainer and loser. And in this project that we plan, if it build a lot of people will use, it create those kind of development. Is it based on the true story or just a dream? And we also talking about the sufficient economic, but building the 3 mega project parallel like this, it doesn't make sense. We have to think that, is this the new toy or is the necessary things in life? Shall we build the oversupply and let some other place have a scarcity? And also most important, we have several hats. So we should think what is best for who. So regarding the Belt and Road Initiative, as this AIT Research Center invite me to speak, I would say that I support the BRI. I think it's good to have the economic collaboration, to have the inter-trading. I believe BRI is about connectivity. It's not selling the high-speed rail. And this is, I refer to the famous guy, famous Chinese president, Deng Xiaoping. He used to say this: black cat or white cat, if it can catch mice, it's a good catch. I think that is true. So why we have to use 1.435, not the meter gauge that we already have for more than 4,000, and we have planned to build it for 6,000. And that's it. Thank you, Wenshao.
Thank you very much, Dr. Surachet, for helping us to have a very detailed review about the China-Thai railway project, and also share your very specific perspectives as a politician, which is quite a new view from for us. And I believe that for any decision we make, it will not only bring benefit and opportunity. So there will be always a challenge and concerns. So it's very happy to have a different voice in our webinar today. Thank you. So we have a little some time for the question and answers, and I believe our audience will have a lot of questions for the speakers today, as we bring a very interesting topic. So our staff has picked up several of the questions. Perhaps considering the limited time, maybe we will pick up one for each speaker. Yes, the slides is on already. So the first question is to Dr. Hua. Dr. Hua, are you still here with us?
Yeah.
Yes. So the question for you is, the EEC project is considered as a key project leading the Thai in Industry 4.0 and also the economy. So can you provide more information on this high-speed rail linking 3 airport project, and how can it make the EEC development more efficient and active?
Yes, okay, thank you. Actually, regarding the EEC high-speed rail project, actually now we are still under the, you can say, the negotiation with the related government and also the SRT as the public partner. And I think it's now, according to the PPP agreement, I think is the government and SRT should be take the liability to taking over all the land and utilities, and to take over by a private partner side. But until now, I think is still have uncertainty and have the time schedule. So we still under the, you can say, the negotiation, and so that's the situation currently now. And also we are also negotiating with government side around you can say the COVID issue to already affected, you can say, the previous assumed the several conditions regarding the project. And as the PPP models, I think as a private partner and also the public partner should be continually, you can say, to discuss about the, you can say, terms and conditions to make this project can be, you can say, continue to execute it, and also for the long-term view, also for the operatable, and I think it's you see the global economic situation. I think is Thailand becoming to be, I think, one of the most attractive destination to be. I think is removed all the, you can say, manufacturing, the business is really rearranged. I think many now potential investor plan to be ready to settle their factory, settle their business in the EEC region. So I think this is really good for the event, for the talent, for the asset region. So I think is such kind of, you can say, infrastructure project is ready to support and also to assist those kind of EEC concept.
Thank you, Dr. Hua again. Yes, let's move to the second question. This is for Mr. Liu. So the operation of high-speed railway in Thailand would affect the business of airline transportation or sea transportation. So which business, in your opinion, will benefit from it?
Wow. For sure, this connection will benefit the goods transportation at this moment, as Dr. Sonache said, especially for northeastern part of Thailand. The goods can be easily transported to the southwestern part of China. There's a huge consumption there. But for the passenger, I'm not quite sure. It's long distance. But myself, I was born and grew in the southwestern part of China. I expected the connection with the high speed will happen, and then I'm trying to this one because when I trying to going home, my air, by air, I have to take a lot of transitions from Bangkok to Kunming to something else, and then else. So it's more than one day. With this HSR connection, I just had simply calculated my time. It would just only within one day, but it's more convenient. It's more relaxed. We can enjoy the seeing, the view through the transportation on the way back home. So anyway, this is what I feel. But for the huge transportation through the sea, by the sea, for sure, and the sea will take more advantage. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Shall we move to the, yes? Okay, probably this is the last question. It is for Dr. Surachet. So we know that Thai people like to use the private vehicles. So there is always a heavy transportation in Bangkok and also in the surrounding cities, which also cause a heavy air pollution and carbon emission. So whether you think that the railway project, high-speed railway project, can also help Thailand, not only for transportation, but also transfer to a more efficient logistic system and more green transportation mode in the future.
Hello. Yeah, when we consider this kind of a big project, we have to look at it from the network point of view. We have to look at from origin to the destination. Okay, so to answer your question, I agree with the mode shift policy that private vehicle have to shift to the rail, and also to transport from the truck, it have to shift to the rail. That is the trend. But as I said, it doesn't make sense to keep building without the plan. Keep building only the redundant project on the same corridor is too large. Why don't we take some out? For example, we build only double track, right? And then the money that we save for the high-speed project, we build the city, we build public transportation, we build intermodal transfer, we expand the coverage of the network. That's huge money, and you have to look at transportation as the network. We have to have a point, which is a city or main origin, main destination. And then if there's enough demand, you use the big infrastructure. And if it's less, you can use bus, you can use LRT, you can use BRT as a connect from the station. Okay, so the problem that I mentioned in this presentation, it doesn't make sense to just look at the high speed. Don't look at the problem like this is the toy, you want it or not. It doesn't make sense to look at the problem like that. You have to look at the existing condition. You have to look at the surrounded network and then plan as a system planning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Surachet. I completely agree with you. So whenever we manage something, we need to look at the whole picture, not the piece of the puzzle. So I think we are almost the time. So very unfortunately, actually, we collect many questions from the audience. I believe they have more. They would like you to share more details and stories, but we are almost at time. So probably today we are going to close the webinar. So before I think close today's webinar, I just want to cite Dr. Surachet's words again. So we all have different hats on our head, definitely. Some are Thai, some Chinese, some from different countries in the region. And we have different opinion, we have different benefits. So, but I believe that communication can help us to, understand each other and find the mutual point or mutual interest that we can benefit each other. So this is also our, the meaning or the objective for us to do this kind of webinar. So we share the different opinions from people wearing different hats, and perhaps one day we can find a hat that everyone like it, everyone love it, then we share it. Okay, so thank you again. Very interesting speaks from all of our speakers. So let me give a quick closing of today's webinar. Again, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So now we reach to the end of today's webinar. So again, first and foremost, I would like to express my appreciation to today's speakers for sharing their expertise, experience, and very unique and honest views about today's topic. And also my deepest gratitude goes to all our participants today, and also our sponsor and our staffs who make valuable support to today's webinar. So we have very in-depth discussion, and which is also interesting. I would like all of our participants can continue to support the Belt and Road Research Center and also our event and activities as always. So we will keep you informed on our upcoming activities, and also look forward to seeing you again in the next event. So wish all have a very nice weekend. Thank you very much, and goodbye. Thank you.